It's not bad. It's like maybe a 1/4 inch off center, but that could have been due to that vise at my drill press not holding it perfectly straight up and down. Yeah, not bad. So the next thing I'm going to do is widen this hole to a 1/4 inch. I did it at 3/16 because that's the width of my tang here approximately. It's a little bit thicker than 3/16. But down here I've tapped this peg at 1/4 inch. So I'm going to make this whole 1/4 inch just so I don't have to remove any material out of there. I'll be broaching the handle from this side only. Yeah. Yep. Okay. So right now I'm just looking for air gaps in between the guard and the handle. And I'm not really seeing any. I don't know if the camera picks that up. But it looks like a pretty tight fit on this side. So now I'll probably cut some of this off and then use the belt grinder to get myself a nice square edge on this end. So I will cut it about halfway into the threads. Not quite half. I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna go to just at the end of the threads, and then I can file or sand away the rest. Okay, so I'm gonna go cut that on the bandsaw. Be right back. So I'm gonna take this to the belt grinder and then just shave a little bit of this away just so I can get a couple of these threads exposed. I'll be right back. Yeah. Oh yeah. You guys don't know how excited this makes me even being at this stage. It's all starting to come together. I think next step is I'm going to go with the bandsaw and just trim this down a little bit. I might even, where is it? This right here. The tang is a little bit wider than in this drawing here. So I think the handle is also going to be a little bit wider. I think I'll just cut this line out first and then do this palm swell. I guess it's not a palm swell. It's like an inverted palm swell. We'll do that on the bench or the belt grinder afterwards. Same with this side. Mark it here and here. So the next thing we're going to do is bed the tang with epoxy. So when I use the broach to hollow out this hole to fit the tang in, it's not a perfect fit. Like there's a bit of play in here. And what could happen is if I left it that way and assembled this handle, if I went to strike something, there's going to be like hot spots or areas where there's more friction inside of here, and that can cause the handle to break. But if we use epoxy, that's going to fill all the space and it's going to give us a perfect fit. And then also for the rest of the build of this knife, I'm going to be able to disassemble and reassemble it and know that this wood block is on this exact same way every time. Right now, like, you see what I mean, right? Every time I take this apart and put it back on, it's going to mess up my like dimensions of the handle. So the first thing we're going to do is cover everything in Vaseline. This is so the epoxy doesn't stick to the handle, to the tang. And Kyle Royer Knives is basically how I learned to do this, so I just want to give him credit. The only place we want epoxy is inside of the hole, so we're going to put Vaseline on both sides of the, like here and here, and then on the nut as well. This is just a piece of G10. I'm going to use this as a spacer on the nut side. So I'm going to coat this with Vaseline as well. I think it's just going to help me with this not getting stuck on the wood. I want to have a barrier between this and the wood. So let's do that. So we just want to fill the hole. Yeah, came off easy. I'm going to try tapping on here with a hammer. We'll put the nut on so I don't bang up my threads. I don't want to squeeze this wood that hard in the vise, but it's sliding right now. I think it moved. I think all I did was hammered the nut and it skipped the thread, so I'm not going to be doing that anymore. What I can probably do is clamp the blade and then hammer down on the guard like that. It's probably going to scratch up the guard. Fuck. I can see metal through that tape. Maybe I put some wood over this and hammer on the wood. Oh, it moved. Definitely moved. So flip it over and do it again. I can still see some small issues with the symmetry. I think I'm going to do more sanding and filing while the whole blade is assembled. I feel I can just see everything a lot better when it's all together rather than in separate pieces. It's looking pretty good so far. Ow, fuck. Oh, I guess I have to take the nut off. Fuck. Okay. I want to kind of leave this on the tang, but I need some space so I don't hit my guard when I'm coming in here with the file. Probably gonna... I was thinking of covering this up with tape, but that's gonna block my view of what I want to see. So I think I'm just gonna leave it like this for now. So it's got to come in a bit. I'm looking where it lines up with the ricasso here, and I can see this side sticks out a little more. This way looks good. Yeah, a little bit more to do here. Feels good in the hand. So this mix is ferric chloride and water and apple cider vinegar. It's about 45 and 45% ferric chloride and water, and then the last like 10% is apple cider vinegar. Those aren't exact measurements, they're just approximated, like it was half and half ferric chloride and water, and I just topped up the rest with apple cider vinegar. They're not touching each other in there. So I'm cleaning them in acetone again. Just doing it off camera, off to the side here. And we're gonna do another 15 minutes. Well, time for hand sanding. Now I'm gonna wear cut resistant gloves when I'm sanding this, and I'll show you why. This blade is pretty sharp already. There's no secondary bevel at the edge. What that means is these bevels come right to the edge of the knife. So I get them pretty well to that point before the hand sanding. And as I sand these bevels and I take this material down even more, like it's only gonna get sharper as I go on. So I've got these cut resistant gloves here. I'm gonna wear these. That being said, I'm still gonna be very careful when I'm sanding. There's gonna be a time when I'm sanding into the blade. That's when I'm gonna be very careful. When I'm going this way, I'm not as worried, but this is still a very dangerous part right now. Even this knife being in the vise, when I'm walking around the shop, I've got to be really careful. Like imagine walking into this, very dangerous right now. Yeah, I just get sick thinking about, you know, not paying attention and bending down to pick up something on the floor and taking this in the face or something. Ugh. So on my last few etches, I did like 2 dips in the acid, sometimes for like 30 minutes at a time. What I'm going to try to do is do like more cycles in the acid at a lower time limit. So I'll probably do 5 minutes, and we're just going to keep doing cycles at that, and I'll do that until it's at a darkness that I like, and I'll let you guys know how many cycles I did. So we'll go ahead and put this in. Okay, so that's the first cycle, 5 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and neutralize this with some Windex just over the sink here. So under some cold water, I'm going to be sanding with some 1500 grit sandpaper, and I have it wrapped around the file. This is just to give me a bit of a flat backing. I'm having trouble getting it right in the plunge lines there. We'll try something for that in a minute. I'll just get this other side first. So it seems to be putting more pressure on the center of the bevels and at the edges there. You can see it sanded away the etching a little bit more. I'm also having trouble getting in the plunge lines with this file, so I'm actually just going to use small pieces like this. I'm going to fold them up, and then I should be able to get in the plunge that way. I'm just going to try sanding with my fingertips so I can apply more pressure at the center of each of the bevels so it doesn't press the outer edges as much. I actually think this is working a lot better using my fingertips rather than the file. So that's the first cycle. I'll go ahead and put it back in the acid now. That's not good. The knife just fell in the sink and the tip chipped off. So I'm gonna have to fix this with some hand sanding. Yay. Okay, so it's been like an hour of hand sanding. I've got the tip re-profiled. I've got my finish back to 800 grit. So we're going to go ahead and clean this in acetone again. We'll put this in the acid for 5 minutes. I'm not going to be moving the camera around as much because that's how I dropped it in the sink. I was trying to move the camera while I was holding the knife in my other hand. So yeah, it's going in the acid. So now I'm sort of curving my fingers, so I'm putting more sanding pressure on the edges and the center of the bevels. I think that just makes a nice contrast where it looks a little more polished on the outer edges. And here we are at the most exciting part, finally. This only fits one way, so yeah, it's this way. Gotta be careful grabbing the blade, it's still really sharp. There's only one layer of tape over that blade. I think what I'm going to do is just put a piece of wood down here and tap lightly. Okay, we got our threads started, or I can see them anyways. See if I can use this nut to pull everything together the rest of the way. And for now, I'm not going to use any epoxy in here. For now, I still want the ability to take it all apart, just in case. Is that it? I probably will eventually use some epoxy to, you know what, I might even just do it right now. I can't see any reason I'm gonna have to take this apart. There's a few little gaps in there. It would be nice if they were filled in a little bit. So I don't know if I'll put epoxy in the whole tang, but at least over, yeah, I'm just gonna mix up a little bit of epoxy to get in between these two pieces here, the handle and the nut. I've saved for some of the sawdust from this wood, which is going to color the epoxy a little bit, and that's going to help make these gaps look a little nicer. Start with that. I don't want to spray acetone directly on here, but I'm going to put it on the paper towel and just wipe it. Okay. Wiping it away like this, I'm not sure that it's going to fill the gaps like I wanted. We'll see. I've got to tighten it one last little bit. See that gap there? It's got to be turned more yet. Oh yeah, that feels good. I think what I'm going to do is just spread some more around here and then wipe it off after. I can't just let this dry and then sand it off because I've etched the nut, and that's just going to sand the finish off of the nut, which I don't want. Okay.